I came to the Shakers in 1907, and I have lived with the Shakers 67 years.
A friend of ours suggested that I come here. He knew that I would be well cared for.
So we've taken upstairs and showed where we would hang our clothes and where our beds were.
These women are in Canterbury, New Hampshire, where they are enacting the final chapter in a distinguished religious saga which has spanned well over 2 centuries. They are the last survivors of the utopian societies which flourished during the 17 and 1800s and greatly fascinated such cultural leaders as Hawthorne, Emerson, and Thoreau. No other communal society in America has lasted as long as the Shakers, nor exerted so strong an influence on American life. Canterbury, New Hampshire, founded in 1792, is a beautiful jewel which exhibits in its graceful setting many brilliant facets of distinguished Shaker architecture. Massachusetts, which was founded in 1790, introduced new and ingenious architectural concepts in construction, such as a circular barn, which is the ultimate in agricultural efficiency in the early 1800s. New Lebanon, New York, which was founded in 1787, became the largest Shaker community in the East. The high water mark of Shaker fortunes was in the middle 1800s. Well over 6,000 Shaker brothers and sisters lived and worked in 18 communities, from Maine in the east to Kentucky and Indiana in the west. After the Civil War, the Shaker movement went into slow decline, and one community after another was abandoned. Today, only 2 communities out of the original 18 are still active.
There's been many changes, but I have had the feeling of going right along with it.
Mother Ann Lee was the founder of Shakerism. Through its history, the society has borne the indelible imprint of her personality and philosophy.
When we were girls in what we called our teenage, we took up the study of Mother Ann. It was always seemed very precious to hear about Mother Ann because she was endowed with the Christ spirit. And with that spirit, she carried on the same work that he had started.
The roots of the religious movement Ann Lee joined in Manchester were in southern France, in the mountains of the Cevennes, 75 to 100 miles west of Avignon. There, a group of radical Calvinist Protestants called the Camisards, or prophets, had been enjoying limited religious freedom since 1598 under the Edict of Nantes. In 1685, the edict was revoked, and the Camisards were ruthlessly hunted down. They were forced to take shelter in their churches and cities. The survivors were imprisoned or exiled. A few Camisards left their ruined homes and made their way to England, where they joined the group which Ann Lee was later to join. She was a woman beset by personal and religious anguish, formed in the searing crucible of the working-class mill town of Manchester, England, during the Industrial Revolution. She also felt consuming rage at the dehumanization of workers in the factories of Manchester. For many years, she remained locked in a mighty struggle with her conscience. Her husband turned his back on her religious tribulations. She joined a radical group of Quakers who held views similar to hers. Eventually, she became their leader. Tragic events continued to occur in her life. All 4 of her children died in infancy, heaping agony upon agony. She was convinced that the early death of her children signified that the act of procreation was sinful. She finally came to the conclusion that the suffering and despair she had undergone were God's way of putting her to the test. She preached and taught that anyone could experience a second appearing of Christ within himself if he prayed long and hard, rejected sex and marriage, and devoted his hands to work and his heart to God. She began to see herself as the embodiment of the second coming of Christ, the female counterpart of Christ's dual nature. She made many converts. England had become increasingly unfriendly to Ann Lee and her followers. They were thought to be heretics possessed of the devil. They were stoned, beaten, mocked, and imprisoned. Finally, in 1774, Ann Lee, her husband, and other loyal followers set sail for the New World. During a severe storm at sea, a plank below the waterline of the ship was knocked loose by a large wave. The captain was just about to lower the lifeboats when Ann Lee announced that she had just had a vision of an angel of God who assured her that the danger would pass. The next wave to hit the ship drove the loose plank back into place, and the ship continued safely into the calm waters of New York Harbor. After over a year in New York, the small group acquired land on the Hudson River, about 7 miles northwest of Albany, and moved there. In 1776, at a place the Indians call Niskayuna, they built a house big enough to accommodate the brothers in one room and the sisters in another. Married members no longer lived as man and wife, but as celibates in separate sections of the house. A central room was used for worship services. Later on, the name of the location was changed to Watervliet. For the first few years, they worked at odd jobs in the area and patiently built up their settlement for what they anticipated would be their future needs.
So Mother Ann came over here and started it, and she had her group come to her, and they'd come from miles just to worship with her. And she would talk with them and counsel them and comfort them.
Those who had heard reports about the religious zeal of the Shakers and of the many miracles attributed to Ann Lee in England, on the ship and in America, made pilgrimages to Watervliet. Mother Ann Lee was a realization of their spiritual hopes. Converts were made by the thousands. She spent many years in difficult travel from one new Shaker settlement to the next to open the testimony. Entire congregations of Baptists and Methodists joined the Shakers. Within 5 years, over 5,000 persons had been converted. Ann Lee died in 1784, 10 years after coming to the New World. This period of expansion was called the Gathering of the Church. To aid in their campaign for conversion, they published some of the first religious tracts printed in this country. To sign the covenant and join the church was to accept an extremely wide-ranging set of rules and regulations called the Millennial Laws. The twin cornerstones of the Shaker order were humility and simplicity. 4 basic principles undergirded the Shaker faith: love, chastity, justice, and peace, within a framework of celibate life, open confession of sin, non-resistance, common ownership of goods and property, and universal brotherhood. Entire families frequently left their homes to join the society. Brothers and sisters, mothers and daughters, husbands and wives. If a couple had children, they too would come into the community where they were brought up as Shakers.
When I came here, all the clothes that I brought with me, I wasn't allowed to wear. It was too fancy, and I also had 2 long pigtails. I had to have those cut short.
The children officially joined the church when, at age of 21, they signed the covenant.
Living souls that be marching on our journey to heaven, with our lamps in their belly with the oil of truth. Living souls that be marching on our journey to heaven, with our lamps in their belly with the oil of truth. Let us join every chorus and unite with our parents. They will lead us on to glory in the path of righteousness. Let us join every chorus and unite with our parents. They will lead us on to glory in the path of righteousness.
Based on the principle that God was both male and female, and that the saviors were Jesus and Ann Lee, they organized themselves as a family. The elders and eldresses exercised an equal and dual role in presiding over the community. They realized that in order to survive, a utopian or ideal society had to minimize its contact with the world. Only by withdrawing from the world and setting up self-contained, tightly governed communities could they achieve the perfection they sought. Although there had been well over 100 utopian societies in America, such as that at Ephrata, Pennsylvania, founded in 1732, only the Shakers have spread, prospered, and endured.
Brothers and sisters all ate in the same dining room. The brothers ate at their own table, and the sisters all ate together. We always ate quietly.
Unlike most monastic and cloistered religious orders, the Shakers attempted to live like families by integrating the sexes wherever practical. The brothers and sisters both used the same residence halls, but slept in separate quarters, which they reached through separate doors and up separate stairways. Simplicity characterized everything. The bedrooms contained only the most simple and essential furnishings. Nothing showy or fancy was permitted, and every room in the Shaker community was kept spotless. Cleanliness, as next to godliness, is said to have originated with them.
Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness?
Shaker worship service was like that of many other Protestant groups of the day. Scripture was read before the congregation, which was segregated according to sex. Some of the preachers were so famous for their dynamic presence that outsiders flocked to hear their sermons.
You are very welcome here this evening. But never forget that this is an act of worship, offered in praise of Almighty God.
Another essential part of the worship was singing. Mother Ann had loved to sing religious songs. She thought of singing as a beautiful way of expressing love and praise for God.
Help me to shake stuff, help me to break stuff, help me to shake stuff, everybody help us.
During their 200 years in America, the Shakers wrote thousands of songs for various types of ceremonies. Many Shaker songs have come into the literature of American folk music. Several have provided themes for major orchestral works. It was the Shaker belief that through shaking and agitating the body, believers were freed from such ills of the world as war, disease, slavery, racism, famine, poverty, the inequality of the sexes, and human depravity. Violent shaking also helped to purge the body of its sinful ways and make it possible for a person to receive the gift of prophecy and come closer to God. The congregation would engage in several types of dances. The shuffles symbolized the order and precision which characterized all areas of Shaker life. The circle, or ring dance, consisted of 4 concentric circles to symbolize the 4 spiritual cycles of Shaker theology. Brothers, alternating with sisters in tight circles, expressed their ecstasy in violent body motions. Shaker meetings closed with a procession in which the worshippers held their hands uplifted to receive the blessings of God and gave each other a kiss of peace. Those who chose to be Shakers found great emotional and spiritual satisfaction in their lives. An eldress wrote,
"It takes the whole woman to be a Shaker, dedicating one's whole life.
I daily feel a fountain of love, life, joy, and heavenly glory flowing into my soul like a river of living waters."
After the procession, many of the congregation returned to the quiet of their rooms to read from Scripture.
Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing. And I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty.
The first settlements were set up around the industry of farming. The Shakers brought rich harvests to tens of thousands of acres of the most fertile farmland in America. A portion of the crops was kept for use by the community, and the rest was sold to the outside world for income.
And I will hold, for this is my work while here below.
Brothers and sisters alike worked the land. They were responsible for a large number of improvements in farming methods, farming machinery, and animal breeding procedures.
And I will hold, for this is my work while here below.
As converts continued to enter the society, the communities grew to accommodate them. They brought their trades with them. Soon each community contained buildings for just about every trade of the day. There was an herb house, a canning shop, a sugar shop for making and bottling syrup, a weaving and sewing shop, a tanning shop for making leather and leather goods, a blacksmith shop, a wagon shop, school, library, and dispensary, and many other specialized buildings. From the middle 1780s to the 1820s, Shaker communities were founded in New Lebanon, New York, Hancock, Massachusetts, Enfield, Connecticut, Canterbury, New Hampshire, Tyringham, Massachusetts, Alfred, Maine, Enfield, New Hampshire, Harvard, Massachusetts, Shirley, Massachusetts, Sabbath-day Lake, Maine, Union Village, Ohio, Pleasant Hill, Kentucky, South Union, Kentucky, West Union, Indiana, North Union, Ohio, and Whitewater, Ohio. Each Shaker community became a self-contained and self-sufficient village, carrying on several dozen industries at the same time.
We learned the task of making the poplar wood boxes from the beginning so that it was easy in time for me to take the entire care of this particular task myself. And I think that Sister Lillian and I were the last ones to make poplar wood boxes in the family here. We had a very pleasant room to work in. The sisters usually had 3 or 4 working at one task, and so it was very agreeable to work with them because we could talk and enjoy life as anyone does anywhere else. The Shakers had a very nice way of rotating the work, so no one had to keep at one task all the time.
The earliest of the Shaker industries revolved on the products of their farms and gardens. In the late 1700s, they began to package and market the seeds of the fruits and the vegetables they were already marketing to the outside world. As the seed business prospered, they expanded into packaging medicinal herbs. They were the first to package and sell medicines in America. At their peak, they were packaging and bottling several hundred different types of herbs, extracts, oils, ointments, and patent medicines. Many were the products they invented. Another farm-related Shaker industry got started in the late 1700s. when broom corn grown on Shaker farms was skillfully converted into a wide variety of brooms. A number of improvements or innovations in broom making were developed by the Shakers, including the first flat broom to be made anywhere. The early Shakers were also quite successful in producing fine quality wool, flax, and in Kentucky silk, which they marketed as fabric or as finished clothing.
We made the cloaks, but some were lined, some were faced with a satin, and some were silk lined entirely. Then we had a little shoulder cape that went on before we plaited it, the neck, and got it to the measure. Then the little cape went on, and after that we put the hood on. Now, many people enjoyed these cloaks. They used them for the opera, and they'd use them for riding, and everybody that had them enjoyed them. The children had them, and we made them for the dolls and the babies. I learned to do that from the very beginning, and as time went on, and the sisters weren't able to do along, I stepped in and helped, and finally, I was the last one left to do it.
Mother Ann's exhortation, do all your work as though you had 1,000 years to live, inspired them to strive for maximum quality.
The Shakers have never been willing to do anything. If they couldn't do it perfect, they'd rather leave it off.
Shaker hands, which were dedicated to work, spent few idle moments. When their hands were at work, their hearts could be filled with God. They could meditate with an inner peace on the beauty of God's creation and see God's great design everywhere around them. In everything they did, from building houses to farming to making furniture, they sought to capture the harmony, the purity, the symmetry, and the perfection of God's creation. Utility for them was perfection. In a sense, they anticipated by a century and a half the modern concept that form follows function. The Shaker religious principles of discipline, simplicity, and efficiency were strongly reflected in their work. While the builders and furniture makers of the outside were experimenting with changing styles and forms, the Shakers methodically and resolutely hewed to their principles, shunning fanciness and ornamentation. Shaker businesses continued to proliferate as their reputation grew. One of their customers wrote, "The Shakers are the only dealers in America who know how to make honesty pay." They made dozens of items for the home, factory, or farm. One of the most famous was the Shaker washing machine, which just would not wear out. The same sense of discipline, simplicity, and efficiency which made their products so popular led them to seek faster and better ways to carry out their work. They made innumerable improvements in the manufacturing processes and machinery they used. They are credited with having devised new machines for filling seed and herb packages, for making baskets, boxes, and whips, and for preparing wood for construction. They also invented the screw propeller, a disc harrow, an automatic spring, a turbine water wheel, a threshing machine, a buzz saw, a pea sheller, a self-acting cheese press, a butter maker, a new type of loom, a revolving oven, a machine for paring, coring, and quartering apples, the first metal pens, the common clothespin, the one-horse wagon, the first perma-press fabric, and much more. Indeed, the Industrial Revolution was given a strong push forward by the Shakers. But the effects of the Industrial Revolution, as well as changing values in the latter half of the 1800s and the early 1900s, took a severe toll in their membership. Machinery and assembly lines rendered the superb handwork of the Shakers outmoded and inefficient. The outside world was beginning to encroach on their communities and force new values upon them. During this period, their building styles and many other things reflected the increasing intrusion of non-Shaker concepts. In order to keep their communities alive, they began advertising for converts, orphans, and foundlings, and operated schools in an attempt to fill their residence halls.
When the summer came and the winter came, for school, I was walked up the road, and one of the sisters told me at that time that I would go to that school. Well, I didn't quite understand what they meant. And I looked at them and I said, no, I don't think so. You don't get any knowledge out of a wooden house. You have to go to a brick school.
They realized that the days of Shakerism were numbered. They closed their membership and resigned themselves to passing slowly from the scene. In 1961, the last brother died, leaving only sisters at the two surviving communities of Canterbury, New Hampshire, and Sabbath Day Lake, Maine. The remaining Shaker sisters occupy themselves with preserving the record of the vast Shaker contributions to American life and keeping alive Shaker practice and philosophy. Their communities are shadows of their former selves. Brothers' doors of the churches are no longer used. The halls that had rung with the sounds of singing and dancing stand silent and empty.
All through my growing up, the sisters were teaching us to see the good in others. And then when we got to be young sisters, in my day, I had to care for the children. We'd take them from interrupted homes or from the state homes, and I would teach them the same. I had a girl that was very hard to bring up, but I gave her the same love that had been given to me. And years after, she told how that she said, I'm bringing up my children as Gertrude taught me and brought me up, and I'm adopting children because I want to give what she gave to me. And Mother Ann's gospel, it spread through her, and now I know that she has done her part even if she couldn't live with us in the community. And going out into the world, we have the spirit in our own hearts, not only Christ's spirit, but Mother Ann's spirit, that told us to be sure that we give our all. In giving it, we don't ask anything in return.
The thousands of Shakers who once inhabited these beautiful buildings have left more than mere images on paper. They have left a noble legacy which has deeply enriched the lives of us all.